Hello, and welcome to Vision Denial and World Watch 2022. My name is Sam, and if those of you who are new here, I have watched every single playoff of 2022. Yes, every single one of them, even that one. Notably, this particular series we were covering the summer of 2022 on our anticipation and preparation for Worlds. And this you have stumbled upon, or you are a regular subscriber and watcher, to the Meet the Teams portion, where I will take a look at every 24 team, their strengths, weaknesses, playstyles, notable quirks, interesting things to look ahead, all in the attempts to at least teach some people who don't watch certain regions what to expect from their teams, or from the teams that are going. That said, there are two caveats to really put forward. First caveat: a lot of the things that I'm going to be talking about are data-driven. I will put a link down below to the Google Docs of all of the data I have aggregated all in one nice spot. All of the data comes from the LOL fandom, Wikipedia, and from the goal.gg website, both of which have very different focuses to their data points, and both are necessary for these kinds of videos to work. That said, there's a limitation to some of this data because the LPL doesn't send the data as consistently as the other regions, and this is something you'll find with any particular data point for LoL esports globally. The LPL will still be missing some things regarding plates, drakes at 15 minutes, and heralds. A lot of the early game is not there. That and everything relating to vision. Second thing that I have to point out, a lot of the emerging regions, specifically Oceania, Turkey, Brazil, Latin America, and Japan, their teams will have some inflated stats in their favor. That being in mind, when we're looking at their stats, a lot of them will look good, notably the Chiefs and Detonation Focus Me. So some of the stats for every team has to be taken with a grain of salt of either being maybe stronger than expected or weaker than expected by quite a bit, notably because of this kind of inflation of statistics. When you're studying data, this is the kind of adjustments you need to do. That said, team-based data will look skewed. Individual data for each player's less so, because of the kinds of data points that they keep track of. All of that to say is that a lot of the notes that I've taken are using data points that have been collected that you can all enjoy for free down below, or in the various websites that I mentioned, but taking into account a lot of the personal notes that I use in conjunction with this data to show you what to expect with these teams. Without further ado, let's take a look at this video's team. I don't know. This is a pre-recorded message. Let's take a look. Let's meet Damwon Gaming Kia. Third seed out of the LCK, they qualified as the 12th team to World Championships after defeating Live Sandbox in the Round 1 regional qualifiers 3-1. Let's meet their coaches. Both Danny and Zepha rejoined to say Damwon Gaming in the 2022 season as part of the main coaching staff after having worked with T1 briefly. Some notable interesting things is that this team has some very interesting, if not questionable, draft choices, but really lean into their application of side lane control and vision, especially vision. And while the wards cleared being very low compared to a lot of other teams who have very strong vision application, their vision score per minute, wards per minute, vision wards per minute, and wards cleared per minute are fairly high compared to all the others. It is very interesting to look at this particular team as they apply significantly solid vision and have a large amount of early game pressure, but are not consistent at securing early turrets, plates, drakes, heralds, so on and so forth, leaving me to wonder that their whole situation of being ahead early really requires them a lot more than what they're dedicating at this current moment, as their late game is also very much lacking. Mostly what I mean by this is their early game, as solid as it is not consistent enough to get them the leads they need to win, especially when their late game play does not match their application and tends to falter very quickly. Let's meet the top laners of Damwon Gaming Kia. We're going to be talking primarily about Nuguri, but Burdol has been the substitute for Damwon Gaming in the summer portion of 2022 after having joined from Gen G in the 2022 season. Nuguri then took his place to be the main roster when he rejoined after a brief hiatus for the spring into 2022, rejoining his former team. A couple of things to note. The playstyles of both of these players are largely different in terms of how Damwon want to approach any given game. But given that the majority of the games Nuguri is the one that's played, we're going to take a larger picture here because they're both similar in terms of being under average of most of their contemporaries in this particular role, and for across the board on any given thing. The only difference here is that at least Nuguri is above average in terms of number of champions played across the board. Now, not by much, but still relevant, mostly because the number of games he has here puts a little bit of an emphasis on the types of styles that Damwon tends to play for. And given that he plays a lot of very side lane and team fight focused picks, the ones that are combined for one and the other, it makes sense that the stylization in terms of vision play around neutral objectives being the first and foremost thing that Damwon focus on, as well as some side lane options, really speaks volumes to the whole situation. Now, whenever they tend to want to be a more side lane focused and put neutral objectives on the back burner, that's when they put in Burdol. But overall, they've had a lot more success in their application of using Nuguri for team fighting and regrouping around neutral objectives. Let's meet the jungler of Damwon Kia, Canyon. Canyon has been part of the team for some time, fluctuating between mid lane and jungle, at least since September of 2018. Most people will be familiar with how he plays, his very aggressive ganking nature, making sure to get his team, his laners at least ahead in terms of any win condition. And he sports also the 4th highest champion count amongst all players. Yes, all players going into Worlds. But I think that's where it starts and ends in terms of what's impressive. Because looking down the line, most of these are one-off or kind of cheese strategy options. And that's totally fine. Damwon is very familiar with this, and with ShowMaker, both of them holding the 4th most champions played, it comes to reason that they try to do their best to accommodate their draft for their vision and neutral objective options. And you know what? Power to that type of playstyle. It is A-okay with me. I will mention, though, that the flexibility that Canyon has and his ability to keep up the pressure is primarily why there is so much success within Damwon itself. Outside of the particular phase of the game where he has the most control, they start to crumble a little bit. And that's just an overall expectation from Damwon itself. Their late game is severely lacking, whilst their early to mid game is a lot stronger, and much of it has to do with how Canyon manipulates the map. Let's meet Damwon Gaming Kia's mid laner, ShowMaker. Many on the international scene will recognize ShowMaker, Playmaker, but should temper their expectations of him this year. Outside of the fact that he still has the 4th most played champions across the board from the summer split, he comes in with much more under average statistics regarding his play style. He is very much a team-oriented player, allowing himself the ability to play as much as he can to mold the team composition in a way that is easier for them as a whole to take advantage of their style. taking things like Corki, which has not been in favor for some time, or bringing up Zillion or Yasuo, Zoe, just a whole host of different options here, mostly to enable his team. He has very low kill participation, a lot lower CS per minute or KDA or gold per minute than most of his contemporaries are involved, but he's primarily there to allow to give space for his team and allow his team to really thrive under conditions that he can control. So yes, temper your expectations of how ShowMaker will do. By no means is he a slouch, but nor will he be the playmaker we remember him as. Let's meet the bot laner of Damwon Gaming Kia, deokdam. deokdam previously of Namshin Red Force for the 2021 season, and previously of Team Dynamics for quite some time, joined Damwon Gaming Kia for the 2022 season to a large amount of success, hosting the lion's share of the gold for the team and still being on the upper half of a lot of the statistics in terms of kill participation, share, as well as gold share. deokdam is interesting in being the second most flexible player in his role amongst his contemporaries, only losing out to Def. That said, this flexibility and ability to team fight and have their gold share reflected from it does, however, become a little bit, how do I put this? It seems bizarre considering that his KDA, his CS per minute, his gold per minute are very much under average. Much of the individual skill markers of the ability for a bot laner to be able to keep up with the pace of the game fall below average, despite the fact that deokdam should be well and above average for much of these stats, given the amount of time, gold, and team fighting that is done on his side of the map. That's it. It's just so much time is spent on his side of the map that you would expect a lot more from this. But we should temper our expectations, as he is a strong team fighter and very flexible in terms of the champions that we can pull from him. But he is not going to match up to some of these other bot laners going into Worlds. So we'll see if he can pull off. Let's meet the support player of Damwon Gaming Kia. We've got Kellin. Kellin with deokdam came in from Namshin Red Force and Team Dynamics previously to join Damwon Kia in the 2022 season. And a notable thing for here is his kill participation. Amongst his contemporaries, he has the highest kill participation percentage. He roams. And as much as his most played support is Yuumi, his roaming is still done alongside Canyon. And this is where the secret of their vision play lies. Kellin enables ganks, team fights, vision play, anything in around Kellin and Canyon together as a duo will be done in service of the style that Damwon loves to play. Outside of that, however, there is not much more going on for Kellin. He's fairly average in terms of standards of his KDA, in terms of gold per minute, so on and so forth. He doesn't overperform, is not an extra deadly support, but he is very good at manipulating the zone, their ability to set up vision and neutral objectives, and to really enable their side lanes to be properly informed for that pressure. Kellin will be an interesting player to watch going forward. Overall, something to really keep in mind is to hold off any particular expectations on how Damwon will do. It's very hard to tell given a lot of the statistics that are involved and their results in playoffs and regionals, because this is still the same kind of team that excels early game, fumbles late game, but just now the amount of how well they excel in the early game has very much fallen off. This is not the same team from the last 2 years in World Championships that won one year and was finalists in the other. And so with that expectations, what should we, or with that kind of shift of expectations, what does it look like for them? Well, given that they're in a group with JDG, one of the favorites of the tournament, and G2, it will really come down to if G2 is up to par and consistent on any given day, which they seem to be, and whether or not Damwon can really learn how to play the late game and how to play it while behind, because they have not been consistent with that regard at all during the summer. But hey, we'll see. That's my observation based off of the statistics. What about you? What do you think? Do you think that Damwon are still a shoe-in to make it out of groups? Are you a little bit worried about or nervous about their performance going through? Any and every thought I would love to hear in the comments down below. If you want to see a bunch of different stuff, all over the screen there will be different little playlists about the different playoffs that have happened, the different other teams that are coming in, my thoughts over time during the playoffs that happened during the summer, so on and so forth, all over the place. Editing me will have a nightmare. If you like this kind of content, leave a like and subscribe. I'd be happy to hear from all of you. And again, thank you for watching. With that, I'll see you next time.